We are the Bible Twins, and this is episode 2. In our last video, we gave a general overview of the entire focus of this channel, the most influential book in history, something that just about everybody of every single ideology and belief system can agree upon. That being the Bible. We went over all of the different sections of the Bible, gave a little bit of a look into each of the 66 books of the Bible. And, you know, that's great and all, looking at the Bible as an actual piece of literature, but it's also important to consider that literature, really good literature, important literature like the Bible, has a huge effect on history. Such as the world has changed and evolved over the many thousands of years that it has existed, so has the Bible, not even being fully put together until many decades after it was first finished being written, has it also continued to grow and evolve along with the world.
Now, we don't want to bore you with a long intro because, you know, you tend to see a lot of people like us on the platform we're on kind of be like, wow, welcome back. Or, you know, if you're new to the channel, even though this is my second time ever doing it, I'm going to give you my whole entire long first installment truncated.
Not really necessary.
This is going to be way shorter than the first time we were here.
An overview is always kind of long in general, so I think that's reasonable, but today is going to be a lot brisker. And we do have a topic that is a lot more structured, but we're going to make sure to go deep into it too, because you guys still are going to be getting, you know, very quality and actual, like, deep content from this channel.
And you know what? It's definitely relevant to this guy's intro. It's a Bible timeline.
Yes,
a timeline of when the Bible was being written and what was going on in the background. You might remember that I did previously, I always made sure to mention when each Bible book was written, from I believe it was 1440 BC,
which is before Christ even,
to 96 AD.
Now that doesn't sound too impressive, but putting it in our own time, it's like going from 2026 all the way to the year 560. Yeah, that's the time frame we're looking at for the Bible here.
So you know what? Overall, I think we have a lot of ground to cover.
Yes,
we're going to cover it. Now, this timeline, we've divided it into 2 parts, or at least 2 time frames. I'm going to be going over world history, things that generally happen, very important things in the world. You probably learned them in high school.
I'm going to be going over Bible history. And when I say Bible history, I don't necessarily mean the Bible as a book, like it being written. We will be talking about that though, because it is a part of Bible history. I'm going to be talking about the events of the Bible, like the stories that were told in the Bible and where they land in the timeline of world history. That's the Bible history we're covering today.
With all of that said, first, there's Genesis, and how we're going to be doing this is, it's very multi-layered. If we actually ordered this in perfect chronological order, we'd be talking over each other so much, you probably want to plug your ears. We're not going to be doing that.
We don't want our voices to be overlapping, and you guys will, stop following along, which, yeah, you know, we want to avoid that. This Bible timeline is easy to follow. It really is.
So what's going to happen is that I'm going to narrate the stuff that happened in world history in the timeline of the book or section, and then you over here, you're going to go over what happened in the Bible. And we're starting with world history just to kind of get that out of the way. Of course, you know, we still like that we put it here, but this is the name of this channel will not be desecrated in any way.
It's not the world history. You know, our sister recently took the AP World History exam today.
You had to mention that, didn't you?
It's probably the same for a bunch of other students too. If you're watching this and you took the AP World History exam like our sister did, I hope that you did well.
We begin not in the classrooms, but
this should be shown in your classroom though.
In 2100 BC, a few good centuries before Genesis even started being written. So that's how you know this is a timeline. History starts with writing. To put it simply, history is the recording of events that happened in the past.
Primarily through writing.
At least it's the oldest forms, the most common form we have. And the oldest pieces of writing we have date back to Mesopotamia. This is the oldest known civilization. They're known as cuneiform. Why do I always get the hard to pronounce word?
Yeah! You're stuck with that.
It's not fair. This is circa 3200 BC. Wow, jeez.
Long time ago.
Stonehenge, that, you know, in movies, sometimes you see a bunch of stones like in a circle. Yeah, that's that one.
In the UK, we come from the UK, we've never seen Stonehenge.
Alright, you spoiled it for me. It was erected in England, which not even is the UK, so great job with that one. Circa 3000 BC. And then you've got the Old Kingdom pyramids. That includes Giza, Great Giza, built in Egypt. Good old Great Giza was built between circa 2700 and 2200 BC, because pyramids, especially way back in that day, took a long time to build. You've got the ziggurats being built in that's circa 2100 BC. You've got the 11th and 12th dynasties in Egypt, circa 2050 to 1800 BC.
I'm willing to bet good money that some of you watching right now watched at least like one movie or TV show or read one book that probably takes place or is inspired by ancient Egypt. Like, you know, hieroglyphics, Cleopatra, Anubis, all of that stuff. Yeah, this was the peak of that in world history.
The city of fell to Elam circa 2000. The Hittites, hey, probably recognize them. And Indo-European tribes, other tribes, form a single kingdom circa 2000. That was also the beginning of the Semitic alphabet, one
This
of the
led
oldest
to
alphabets we have.
The modern alphabet that we have today, this comes from that.
And the 4 basic elements of the world identified in India, as in at the time people believed everything was made of one of these 4 things.
Water, air, earth, fire. I got that wrong. Wait.
Absolutely. Don't even try again.
No, I got it. Water, earth, fire, air. Can you help me? I'm trying.
So, earth, air, fire, and water, okay? Those 4 elements. Well, you've heard them in different orders, so I guess that makes it easy to memorize them. Yeah.
It's being unfair to me.
4 basic elements. Alright, that's enough. You can go now. You can go.
No.
If you're gonna be this cringe.
No, that's not cringe. I'm trying to make this fun for our younger viewers. That's not cringe to do, right? No, you can't appreciate my efforts. I'm really disappointed. This is a show. Let's get into Bible history, guys. Now, before everything that this guy talked about, we have God creating the world with Adam and Eve. This is also where he established the Adamic covenant. It's important in Bible history to look at all of the covenants that God established. He's a very big fan of doing that, and they're very central to the story of the world as well. This Adamic covenant is pretty much what takes up the entire first half of world history, if we're being real. Everything on earth, all of our human lives lived under this Adamic covenant right here that was established. And unfortunately, this covenant was corrupted. So that's very important to consider, because honestly, leading up to Jesus, the world had a really bad history. Just putting it out there, had a really bad history. Now, shortly after that, we see Noah's Ark built in response to the flood. As you remember from Genesis, we have the story of Noah, a good man in a sea of bad, who God chose him and his family to be saved after the flood. Then we have the Noahic covenant established. Unfortunately, this also became quickly corrupted. If you don't know, after the flood and the beautiful moment where God uses the rainbow to establish that Noahic covenant and never destroy the world again. Well, how do I say this? He gets drunk, sets up a tent, his sons rape his daughter-in-law, it's a really sad story, honestly. Then we get to Abraham. He lived from the years circa 2166 BC to 1991 BC. This is where we see the Abrahamic covenant established. After the covenant with Jesus and the Adamic covenant, this is probably the third most important covenant. This covenant still stands today as the covenant that established the Israelites, the chosen people of God. Next up, we have his son Isaac from the years 2066 BC to 1886 BC. Traitor. And then we also have Jacob, circa 2005 BC to 1859 BC. Another major figure here is Joseph. He lived from the years circa 1914 BC to 1805 BC. Now, another important factor in Joseph's life is Jacob's family migrating over to Egypt in around 1876 BC. And finally, we have a very long stretch into the next era of world history. The Hebrews, or the Israelites, in Egypt from circa 1876 BC to 1446 BC.
All right, now that was the first section of Genesis. Now we're going to move on to, this covers the time span of Exodus, Leviticus, Numbers, and Deuteronomy. Now in this time frame, we had the 13th to 17th dynasties in Egypt, circa 1800 to 1570. Hammurabi, his law of Hammurabi, Hammurabi's code, actually a great influence, many people and scholars agree and say, on the Ten Commandments, the first ever law, really, an eye for an eye and a tooth for a tooth, I believe.
Those aren't the Ten Commandments.
I'm saying they had an influence on them. He reigned in Babylon from 1792 to 1750. Then the Hyksos, or Hykso, maybe it's pronounced fancy like that, ruled over Lower Egypt 1730 to 1570. The first Chinese dictionary, all right, coming in, one of the cradles of civilization. It contains over 40,000 characters. It's a complicated language, yo.
I can't believe Merriam-Webster is that old of a company.
It was made in 1717. That was probably before Merriam or Webster was even born.
They're the guys that make dictionaries, from school guys.
The Shang dynasty began in China, 1600 circa. The Hittites, once again, they're back and they sack Babylon. That's 1595. And then the Hyksos were expelled. The 18th dynasty began in Egypt as well, all within 1570. Stop coughing. You're harshing my vibe.
No, I'm coughing because you just...
Okay, now you're really harshing my vibe.
No, the snooze fest of this world history.
Oh, come on, man. We both agreed.
It's getting into, my throat, my chest.
We both agreed we would do this. We both agreed this would be here.
God, I'm sorry. It's so boring. You're gonna have to put up with my bore cough this whole video.
So we have Pharaoh Thutmose III from circa 1504 to 1450. Pharaoh Amenhotep II, 1453 to 1426. You have Dream Stele, really? Dream Stele, or Stele, or Stele, or there are a billion different ways to pronounce it.
It's only with one L, though.
Of Thutmose IV, that's circa 1401. Then the Amarna letters written between Canaan and Egypt, circa 1400. And yep, that's about it.
Now we get back to Bible history. We're in the era of the rest of the Pentateuch, so Exodus, Leviticus, Numbers, and Deuteronomy. There are only two major people in Bible history that I'm going to be talking about on this timeline. We have Aaron, born in around 1529 BC and lived to 1407 BC. And his more popular younger brother, Moses. Surprisingly enough, he never established a covenant, but he lived from 1526 BC to 1406 BC. I'm surprised he died before his brother did. That's pretty interesting. Maybe we'll both make it to the same year so that we can outdo Aaron and Moses.
You just have to, like, I did not expect mortality, that kind of mortality to be brought into the conversation. Just keep on going.
Now, a bunch of stuff happened with Moses. We have the first Passover, not with Jesus, but the first general Passover as a custom in Jewish tradition in 1446. We have the actual Exodus, also in 1446, from Egypt and all of that slavery. I lied earlier. He did establish a Mosaic covenant with God, which culminated in the 10 Commandments in 1446, as well as other laws being given. We have his tabernacle being built in 1446. So much happened in 1446, man. BC. Crazy year. Now, we also have Moses writing the Pentateuch, the Torah, from 1446 to 1406 at the end of his life. Wow, he spent like the last 6 decades of his life doing that. Pretty good writer, honestly. I mean, it takes a while to write books like those 5. And within this, we have 2 other major stories. We have Rahab saving the spies, if you remember the beginning of Joshua in 1406. And we have Joshua leading the Israelites into Canaan successfully, with the whole wall coming down with praise in 1406. And finally, we have another Exodus in 1290, this time over to the Promised Land.
Well, actually, to explain that one, scholars are kind of split as to when the Exodus happened. One camp says 1446, the other camp says 1290. More people agree and just go with 1446. But for people who want it to be there, 1290. It's kind of like how we addressed Catholics and Jews last time. Yes, they have different Bibles. We're not disregarding them. But understand, guys, that most people do not see them as legit. And that includes us.
Anyways, we also want to quickly mention the era of Joshua, who led the Israelites into their new era, and the book of Judges, which is a very big historical text for the Bible. The era of Judges lasted from 1350 to 1051 BC, and it included notable people such as Deborah, hello sister, Gideon, Samson, and others. Joshua in particular was written around the 1300s BC.
How many times do I have to tell you, dude? Ow! Stop! Stop mentioning our family. This ain't Fast and Furious. Understand?
Yeah, I do. Hey, sir, how you
Gross.
I mentioned the book of Joshua, so it's only fair. And I'll quickly round out the trilogy, Lord of the Rings, Return of the King. Hello, ma'am, how are you doing? There's no Bible character named Juliana, truly sad.
And you didn't even say it properly. You said Lord of the Rings, Return of the King. It's Fellowship of the Ring, Two Towers, Return of the King.
That doesn't matter.
Oh my goodness. Okay, you know what? What are the free ones of the Hobbit? What do they call them?
No, wait. An Unexpected Journey. The Desolation of Smaug.
He's not gonna do it.
Battle of the Five Armies.
Oh, you actually did it. Okay. Well, back to me. So, where I left off, there was King Tutankhamun. He was actually very young, of Egypt. That's 1333 to 1323. Jeez, that's kind of disturbing to think about, actually.
Well, did he live to be only 10 years old?
A little bit older than that, yeah, but still.
He didn't even make it into adulthood?
Well, yeah. Ramses II did a lot better. 1318 to 17. Or not.
1 year.
Or not. He did even better at being short.
1 year. A 1-year-old baby as king.
For real though, Seti is next. They were 1317 to 1304, and then
That's 13 years. That's a teenager. This is awful.
Ozymandias. Just kidding. Ramses II, the most powerful king in Egyptian history. 1304 to 1237.
Actually good. And
that is awesome.
the poem Ozymandias was in fact based on him, not the Breaking Bad episode, just so we can get that out of the way.
So after that, there's Merneptah. Hard act to follow, especially with names like these. 1237 to 1227. Merneptah Steel, circa 1220. The Hittite Empire collapses. They won't be coming back. Sorry, I missed how they would spawn in and just wreck stuff. That was in circa 1200. The Iron Age, that's when humans started to use iron a lot. It began in circa 1200, finally went high up enough, got to some mountains, some nice deep caves, and found some iron. Put our furnaces down, and the Olmec culture in Mexico. They spawned in around this time. They're well known by having these massive basalt sculptures. I'm not sure if Mojang even has that inside yet.
They should have that in a new patch.
Circa 1200, and the Trojan War too began in Asia Minor, circa 1190. Though it is worth noting that a lot of scholars do agree that the Trojan War is kind of mythical. It's kind of legend.
Wait, the Trojan horse isn't real?
It was real. They used that one, but the Trojan War maybe was just a composite of several wars that happened around that time.
So the Trojan Wars, it might be a lie.
Yeah, so Egypt's power began to decline in the midst of all this stuff around 1164. Why is it
cap? You're probably lying.
Why is it
Scholars probably don't agree on that.
Why is it that when we're doing Bible, very orderly, things are going well, but when it's my turn, you won't let me have some peace?
It's more fun to mess with you than it's fun for you to mess with me.
I'm putting my foot down right now.
Ow, he's stepping on me. Ow, ow.
Yeah, so now you don't forget it. So the Zhou dynasty began in China too, 1150. And finally, Tiglath-Pileser I ruled over Assyria, 1114 to 1076. All right, time for the next period of history.
This is the era of Ruth. Yes, she has her own section in history. It also does include the Book of Judges because Ruth takes place inside the Book of Judges chronologically. We have the era of Judges, and the book was fully composed and written from the years 1350 BC to 1000 BC, which is there were a lot of judges, but guys, that's a really long time to write a book. Just one book. Now Ruth, her story. We unfortunately don't actually really know her dates, but she still does have an important part on this timeline. Eli, the priest in Shiloh, one of the descendants of her family, lived from 1100 BC to 1060 BC. 1st and 2nd Samuel were written from 1100 BC all the way to 931 BC. The central figure, Samuel, a well-known judge and prophet in Israel, lived for only 4 decades, from 1060 to 1020 BC. We have King Saul, Israel's first king, from 1051 BC to 1011 BC. Then we have King David, from 1011 BC to 971 BC. The Psalms were written from 1000 to 450 BC, and that makes sense. There were 150 chapters, but man, I don't know where those writers' rooms are, out in the desert, freezing cold or freezing hot, fighting for their lives to re-ink their pencils so that they can keep writing. It must have been really tough.
Re-ink their fountain pens. I'm starting to think maybe I shouldn't have done this with you. I shouldn't have brought you onto this, because you're not as sharp as me. Come on.
The dullest tool in the shed is the one that the worker has used the most. Let's go. Really? Let's go. All right, yeah. See, I made a good point.
Okay, you can continue now.
So anyways, we have the Davidic covenant, another major covenant of the Old Testament. This is the covenant that led to Jesus' covenant. So this is probably the most relevant covenant from the Old Testament times today. We have Prophet Nathan, the one who, came and, delivered it to David. Yo, you done goofed up big time with Bathsheba, but don't worry, God still is going to use you a lot. He was there from 1990 to 1971 BC. Then we have King Solomon from 971 to 931 BC, David's son, the one who asked for wisdom, and then got really corrupt. We have the Proverbs, Ecclesiastes, and Song of Songs, all being written mostly by him from those same years. And finally, we have the first temple of Jerusalem, that iconic, beautiful Solomon's temple built in 1960 BC.
Okay, so now it's time for the period of 1 Samuel through 2 Chronicles.
Which constitutes 6 books in the Bible, so very, very long time.
Pretty good. All right. So starting off with the Mayans, another famous American, not as in the United States. Don't be biased like that, because you filthy Americans always thinking about yourselves. Referring to the Americas as the 2 major continents in Central and South America. The Mayan dynasties were founded in Central America, circa 1000 BC. There was Hiram, king of Tyre, circa 978 to 944. Pharaoh Shishak, that's the best I could pronounce it. The first, 945 to 924. Assyrians started expanding their territory. They began in 912. You have... I'm trying my best here, okay? I'm trying my best with this one. Ashurnasirpal. The second of Assyria, 883 to 859. And then Shalmaneser the third of Assyria, 859 to 824. Jeez, that was hard.
Yeah, you're really bad at pronouncing names.
But luckily, King Mesha drove the Israelites out of Moab, 850. Assyria forced Israel to pay tribute. Seems like they've taken the place of the classic Hittites. That's 841. There was the Greek poet. All right, other societies. The Greek poet Homer.
No Simpson.
800 to 701. Though it is worth noting that most scholars don't agree on when he even died. In fact, a lot of scholars believe he maybe didn't even exist at all.
That alludes to the fact that The Simpsons will literally not die as a show.
The first recorded Olympic Games, my favorite sporting event, by the way. Huge fanboy.
Can't wait to LA when they're gonna Americanize it like they did back in Atlanta like 3 decades ago. That's gonna be.
The first recorded Olympic Games were in Greece, the ancient Olympic Games, not the modern ones, in 776. There was the founding of Rome, 753. Tiglath-Pileser III of Assyria, 745 to 727. There was Sennacherib of Assyria, 705 to 681. But then, unfortunately, Nineveh from Assyria fell to Babylonia and Media, not Media, because why would I say it like that? 612. Finally, following it up with King Nebuchadnezzar II, might recognize him, of Babylon, 604 to 562.
Hey, he was the king in the book of Daniel.
King Artaxerxes. I always was able to struggle pronouncing it, even as a kid. Of Persia, 464 to 424, the Peloponnesian War began, 431.
In this massive section of Bible history, it was mostly all about books being written. At this time, we really started compiling the Old Testament together. The major event of Bible history in terms of events is the kingdom splitting into kind of like Brexit, you know? Actually, that's not really a comparable event. It's just one part leaving. Never mind. Forget about that. Instead, the kingdom divided into Israel, the north, and Sudan.
Oh my. Because he's mentioned. Lock in. Lock in. Lock in. You hear me?
I'm sorry to all Sudanese people watching this right now. I meant Judah.
Do it. Do it now. Do that now.
I just apologized. I'm locking in now.
Oh
See, okay? The kingdom divided into Israel in the north and Judah in the south in 1931. Now, the northern kingdom of Israel was a lot less successful with a bunch of trash kings, and it fell to Assyria in 1722.
And that part of the reason,
722.
part of the evidence for that is that he said 1931, 931. You
Okay.
are just you are just off kilter today.
Sure, yeah. The southern kingdom of Judah was a lot more successful with actually decent kings here and there. We have 931 to 586. Unfortunately, it ended up falling to Babylon. The temple was destroyed and the people was exiled. The same year that they got a new governor in Gedaliah. So not a great time for that governor. He literally lost the kingdom as soon as he got it. His bag was immediately stolen from him. Tragic. Two major prophets showed up. We have Elijah from 870 to 845 BC, the guy who caught down fire. And we have his surrogate son, basically Elisha, who asked for double blessings when he went to heaven and actually didn't really die, from 845 to 800 BC. And just a rapid fire of books that came out during this time. You know, hot literary releases. You could go and grab them in your local library. Did libraries exist at that time?
I actually don't know.
Building suspense. Jonah, Amos, Hosea, Isaiah, Micah, Nahum, Zephaniah, Jeremiah, Habakkuk, Daniel, Ezekiel, Obadiah, Lamentations, 1st and 2nd Kings. All written during this time. Jonah was written from 783 to 753. Amos was in 760 to 753. Hosea was in 752 to 722. Isaiah was in 740 to 681. Micah was in 748 to 698. Nahum was 663 to 612. Zephaniah was 641 to 628. Jeremiah was 626 to 582. Habakkuk was 609 to 598. Daniel was 605 to 535. Ezekiel was 593 to 571. Obadiah was 586. Lamentations was also 586. And 1st and 2nd Kings was 561 to 539.
Oh my goodness. He actually did it.
Fast pace. That's what this is all about. You know, I love that.
The next section of history is Ezra, Nehemiah, and Esther. At least me talking about world history now. Gautama. You can already tell. Gautama. You can already tell what we're getting into. Gautama Buddha of India. 563 to 483 created Buddhism. Aesop's Fables, 560. The guy was possibly a legend again. There's some more evidence of him than Homer though. But yeah, a lot of his wise teachings and sayings became fables, the type of stuff you learn about in kids' fairy tale animated movies or something.
Wait, so Aesop might be fake? I never liked that guy. His stories are lame. Mediocre stories.
Aesop?
Yeah.
Oh. He's saying that like he's read his stuff before. He hasn't, bro. You got Cyrus the Great. Now this guy's gonna be important to even Bible history. King of Persia, 559 to 530. philosopher Confucius of China. All
He did
right.
not invent the golden rule, but credit to him for spreading it in popularity.
551 to 479. Babylon fell to Persia and Media.
I already covered that. Oh wait, never mind. It was Judah falling to Babylon. Well, Babylon got its just desserts.
You don't want this. You don't want this. You don't want this. You don't want this. Babylon fell to Persia and Media. 539. Also, that same time, Darius the Mede.
For record, we are not looking to hire any maids.
For our house, we clean up. We clean our own dishes. We do our own laundry. Yeah. He ruled over Babylon. 539. The Roman Republic was established. 509. There was the Athenian leader. That means Athens, Greece. A very important city. The birthplace of democracy. Pericles of Greece. 500 to 429. There's also King Xerxes the First. Ahasuerus. These names, man. Of Persia. 485 to 465.
It's time to flip.
No, it's not. Look.
The page. On more books of the Bible.
Yeah.
Alright, I'm gonna do a rapid fire again. Here we go. Malachi, Joel, Haggai, Zechariah, Queen Esther, 1st and 2nd Chronicles, Ezra, and Nehemiah. Whoa! Yo! Are you okay, man? Guys, hold on. Yo.
Yeah, I'm
Alright,
alright.
he's okay.
Man, hold me like you're actually concerned. Like,
I am concerned for you.
Hey, stop. Enough.
I'm not even hurting you.
Enough.
I'm not even hurting you, though.
Enough. I was going to sleep because he thinks he's being cool and hip.
I am totally. I'm sure that people were impressed with how I perfectly referenced the at the opening. I definitely did it perfectly. I probably got it wrong, I'm gonna be honest. Probably got it wrong. Okay. So, let me actually lock in for you guys and give you a good example. Malachi was written in the 400s BC. We don't know the exact dates. Joel, we straight up just don't know when it was written ever, but it definitely was written farther than all of the previous books I've mentioned in this section so far. Now, Cyrus did allow the Jews to return from exile, the king of Persia, in 538, and the rebuilding of the temple began in 536. It would be completed a lot later. In the meantime, we had Haggai written in the year 520 BC, and the book of Zechariah written in 3 years, 520 to 518 BC. Zerubbabel and Joshua the high priest made their grand entrance into the Bible story, and the temple was completed after a long 22 years in 516. Then we had the story of Queen Esther in 478 BC, written and completed. Ezra went to Judah in 457 BC. 1st, 2nd, and Chronicles. Just kind of a recap of this whole timeline of Bible history was written between 450 and 400 BC. Nehemiah governed Judah, what was left of it, from 444 to 432 BC. And finally, Ezra and Nehemiah, the books were written in the 400s BC. Now,
Okay, here we go. We've got a lot less, which I like. Whew. Now, this is between the Old and New Testaments, because after the prophets said their fair share, there was 400 years, which means Bible history actually has nothing.
the 66 books of the Bible do not cover this 400-year period. Make sure to remember that when talking about the Bible. They don't account for this 400-year period of history.
Woohoo! because I can talk and you won't ruin it. Be quiet during this section. I'm hijacking this myself. So, world history. All
Make
right.
sure to look at the camera.
Plato wrote The Republic, 370 BC. We're still in BC, mind you. Alexander the Great conquered Egypt and Judea, and he began Hellenization, 332. Persia fell to Alexander. You know, he's on a roll. 330. Oh, he died. Alexander dies. 323.
Not so great after all, huh? Just had to get that licking. Make sure he catches a stray.
His empire is divided. 323. There was the Ptolemaic. I cannot pronounce these. I can't do this.
It's funny how much he
really
wants to come
can't
after
do
me,
this.
but he continues to fail in terms of pronunciation.
At least people will cut me some slack. That empire in Judea, 323 to 198. Pretty long time. Hinduism was codified in India, 274. Hinduism developed over a pretty long time, but it really got started around this moment in world history. There was the holy scriptures that they have. The First Punic War. Romans ended up controlling Italy. That was 264, 241. The Septuagint. Very important. Translation of the Hebrew scriptures, that's the Old Testament, into Greek, written circa 255. Most Bible translations, modern English Bible translations, still today use the Septuagint as a sort of a starting point because it was a really good translation. The Second Punic War, of course, is not related to any of that. You got the legend Hannibal Barca in Italy. 219 to 201. He kept them up for a long time. Put them up! Oh, you're looking at the book. Okay. The Great Wall of China was built to keep out invaders. That's that cool thing that actually, honestly, it's a little bit overrated.
It's just a wall. It's a really long wall.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think it's overrated like that, but you know, it didn't take them that long. Just circa 215. The earliest of the Dead Sea Scrolls, that means, you know, famous copies of the Hebrew scriptures that include a portion of every Old Testament book except the book of Esther.
Where's the book of Esther? No, seriously, genuine question. Where's the book of Esther if it's not in the Dead Sea Scrolls?
I don't know! So the earliest of them was written in circa 200. Now, the Seleucid Empire began to rule Judea, 198. Rosetta Stone, 196. This is a stone that has the same message in 3 different kind of languages. Well, one of them's hieroglyphs. The Seleucid ruler Antiochus IV desecrated the temple in Jerusalem, forced Jews to abandon law, 175, 164. Bad dude. The Maccabean Revolt, Judas Maccabeus, I like saying it like that, leads a Jewish revolt against the Seleucids, 167. Spoiler alert, I've read about it, it was not successful. The temple in Jerusalem, though, was rededicated, and they celebrate this, the Jews to this day, as Hanukkah. That's where that cool light thingy comes in. That little light thingy comes in, huh? That was 164. There's the Hasmonean dynasty, 164 to 163, so just about a year. Third Punic War, the Romans controlled Greece, 149 to 146. Ships from China reached India for the first time, 100, which is really cool to think about because those two have since been kind of, at least statistics-wise, always the 2 countries with the most, like, of everything. In fact, India now just recently surpassed China a few years ago to become the world's most populated country. So, congrats to India for that one. Actually, maybe that's a little bit concerning, isn't it? But actually, they've done a really good job at curbing their poverty levels. So, yeah, good job, guys. Spartacus led a slave revolt, 73 to 71. If you've ever watched Gladiator, this is kind of where it comes from, a portion of it anyway.
Goated movie, you all should check it out.
Pompey conquered Jerusalem for Rome, 63. Not as in the city that got wiped by that one volcano. That's Pompeii. This is Pompey. I know, it's completely different. Julius Caesar. Oh boy, that dude. Julius Caesar. Crassus and Pompey, the EY dude, formed the first triumvirate, like free people ruling over stuff, 60. Cleopatra the 7th, that's the Cleopatra that you're interested in. She ruled over Egypt, 51 to 31 BC. Oh my goodness. Okay. Herod the Great ruled over Judea, 37 to 4 BC. These dates are getting interesting now. Caesar Augustus ruled over the Roman Empire, 27 BC to 14 AD. All right. We're in the modern era. Yeah.
We no longer have to add BC.
Yeah, Herod began a massive expansion of the temple complex in Jerusalem at 20 BC. Why Herod, bro? This man, not only does he Holocaust babies, he makes me have to go back on my words.
Now you can open your phone and it will tell you July 4th, 14.
I don't even understand what you're trying to do with that.
Because it's like you're now in the modern times. You're like in the year of our Lord 14. So if you open up your iPhone, then it'll like show you, okay, time, July 4th.
All right, that's enough out of you.
14.
That's enough out of you. So Herod Antipas ruled over Galilee, that's 4 BC to AD 39. And you know what? I think I'm gonna give it up to you now.
All right. Let's go into the Gospels. This is Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John. One of them is not like the others.
It's the last one. Make it easy. It's not like Sesame Street. Yeah.
So we have the birth of John the Baptist, which was actually in the year 5 BC, which might surprise you that it's earlier than the birth of Jesus Christ in Bethlehem in the year 4 BC. Now Jesus at age 12 amazes teachers at the temple in Jerusalem. You might remember that moment specifically from Luke in the year 8. Like the year 8. Then we have Jesus being baptized by John the Baptist in the Jordan River in the year 26. He began his public ministry that same year. Unfortunately, he only got 3 years in before he was... Oh, wait, actually, no, I'm thinking of Paul, sorry. No, wait. I'm thinking of John. Yeah, John the Baptist. He was arrested and killed by Herod in the year 29. You always mix up the people who are killed in the Bible, man.
I'm cutting in once again. So Caiaphas was the high priest in Jerusalem, 18 to 36. There was also Emperor Tiberius of Rome, 14 to 37. And this is in AD now, fully in AD. Now, he got a lucky start because he only had to do 2 in BC, but we're all AD now. So I'm going to say it again, AD, let's go. Kuang Wu Ti, I hope I pronounced that right, founded the later Han, Eastern Han dynasty in China, 25, and then Pontius Pilate governed over Judea, 26 to 36. Now, back to you.
We have the book of Acts. Technically the 5th gospel, covering the history of the actions of the apostles and the early church. The new covenant was founded in the year 30 with Jesus' unfortunate death on the cross and resurrection 3 days later in Jerusalem in the year 30. Then we have the risen Jesus appearing to his disciples and many others.
Gives the Great Commission.
He ascends into heaven in the same year. Finally, the disciples received the Holy Spirit during Pentecost in Jerusalem, a short while after Jesus' resurrection. In the year 32, Stephen, the proto-martyr, is martyred in Jerusalem. Christians begin to disperse throughout Judea and Samaria as a result of many influential people within the church, including Peter and John, taking up great leadership roles. We also have Paul being converted on the road to Damascus in the year 37. Peter bringing the gospel to Gentiles, basically non-Jews, in the year 40. We also have another notable martyr, Apostle James, the son of Zebedee, being martyred in the year 44. This is not Jesus' half-brother. Then we have Paul's first major missionary journey over the course of 3 years from the year 47 to 49. In the year 49, a lot happened. James's half-brother, which is technically true, but let's go ahead and flip that, because James, Jesus' half-brother, he wrote his book of James in the year 49. Paul wrote Galatians. The Jerusalem Council was held in the year 49, and the Jews were expelled from Rome entirely due to heavy persecution, including Priscilla and Aquila in the year 49. Then we have Paul's second missionary journey from the years 49 to 51. In between this time, Mark actually does go ahead and write his gospel, the first one to do so in the 50s. And Paul writes 1st and 2nd Thessalonians to the church in Thessalonica from the years 50 to 51. We have Paul's third missionary journey from the years 52 to 57. In this time, Paul writes his 3 most goated books. 1st and 2nd Corinthians.
No, bro. Yeah. Really? No. Don't do that. Don't do what he did.
That's just my opinion.
Don't do what he did. This is meant to be an objective, unbiased thing we're doing. You can't do stuff like that.
In my opinion, I don't want to be objective.
See? Exactly. Give people a heads up, man. Give people a heads up.
Paul writes his trilogy of goated books, in my opinion. We've got 1st and 2nd Corinthians in years 55 and 56, and Romans in 57. Finally, we have Paul's journey to Rome from 59 to 60. He gets into house arrest in Rome in the years 60 to 62. Luke writes his gospel and the book of Acts in the same years. Also in the same years, Paul writes Ephesians, Philippians, Colossians, all of his other church letters, and Philemon to another person close to him, the person actually named Philemon specifically for him and his slave Onesimus. Matthew writes his gospel a little bit late to the party in the 60s. Unfortunately, James, the half-brother of Jesus, is martyred in 62. We have Paul writing 1 Timothy from the years 62 to 66. In between that time, Peter wrote down 1st and 2nd Peter in 64, and Paul wrote the book of Titus in 64 to 66. Paul also wrote 2 Timothy in 66 to 67. This would be the last writing we would ever get from Paul. Peter and Paul are both martyred in Rome during Emperor Nero's really intense persecution of Christians, 66 to 68.
They definitely have the 2 most famous executions. Paul was beheaded, and it's said that his head rolled over and then shined like the sun. Well, of course, that's legend, but hey, interesting story. Now, Peter is really interesting. He was crucified, but Peter said, "Crucify me upside down." So for a long time, you might have seen people be like, that upside down cross, it's satanic.
But it's evil.
The thing is that Peter himself wanted that. So
Fortunately,
it's actually a Christian symbol.
We've managed to turn it into a Christian symbol. You might not recognize it. Now, if an upside down cross is paired with any imagery that does go against God, then in that use it is satanic. So do be careful of that. Also, I do encourage you to do your own research. This is a very hands-on thing that we're doing here. A lot of this history does need to be looked into on its own.
It's very interesting anyway.
Yep. But yeah, during Emperor Nero's persecution of Christians, Peter and Paul were both martyred in Rome during the year 66 to 68. And Jewish Christians fled rather than join the Jewish revolt against the Romans in 66. During this time, we had the book of Hebrews written by its unknown author from the entire 60s decade. And finally, we had June, written over the course of the 60s, 70s, and 80s.
Anywhere in that time, anyway, since it is a very short book. This guy would not be like, let me wait like 2 months before I write like another sentence. Oh, I typed out, in 2 years, I've typed out 3 verses. Let's go!
Good job.
Here's the final piece of world history. I'm sorry, lovely viewers. This guy ruined all my segments, but this is where I leave you. You've got Emperor Caligula, 37 to 41. He declared himself a god in 37. That is super funny.
That's ridiculously dumb.
Okay. Claudius was next, 41 to 54. He conquered Britain, 43, not bad. And the Julian calendar of 365 and a quarter days, the leap year was introduced all in 46. Emperor Nero, this guy was bad, was next, 54 to 68.
He's the guy who took out
Now,
Peter and Paul, just so you know.
Rome burned up. We don't actually know who did it, but Nero said, oh, it's those Christians, and he started persecuting them, 64 to 68.
You know, we do like to mess around with fire. The Holy Spirit, you know, we commonly depict him as being fire.
Now,
but I mean,
there was the first Jewish revolt against the Romans, 66 to 73. It failed. Badly. They destroyed Jerusalem, AD 70. Probably the most important thing to ever happen to the Jews.
Also, they took out our temple.
Christianity started out as a sect of Second Temple Judaism, which is to say, it began as a sect of Judaism that believed that Judaism had been fulfilled in Jesus. Second Temple just refers to the fact it was the second temple. Solomon's was the first, theirs was the second. So that being said, the Qumran was destroyed. The people of this settlement, unfortunately, they were the ones who likely preserved the Dead Sea Scrolls. They're the ones who kept that alive. We have good copies of them, but not perfect ones. They probably did have Esther, those Dead Sea Scrolls. They preserved that. Unfortunately, they were destroyed.
Thanks, Nero.
68. Emperor Vespasian, 69 to 79.
I'm glad you got to handle all the difficult.
The Romans just keep on getting worse. We've already mentioned this, but 70, they destroyed Jerusalem and the temple. And can you imagine, just the year after 71, construction began on the Colosseum, that famous building they have. Masada fell to them, 73. Mount Vesuvius erupted in 79. That's Pompeii, Pompei.
But if you close your eyes, don't you?
You want me to do it again?
No.
That's how you get people to listen to
Nothing changed out of the world. No, that's what Need for Speed Rivals.
So Emperor Titus was 79 to 81. Emperor Domitian. I'm still bad at these. I will work on this. I'll work on it. I can promise you that much. I'll work on it. He was actually the one who demanded the title Lord and God.
Thanks for that.
As in, he did it for himself.
Nope, never mind. I take that back entirely. No thanks for that.
Yep, that was 81 to 96. Emperor Nerva was 96 to 98. Emperor Trajan was 98 to 117. That was a long time. But finally, there was Josephus, who wrote Antiquities of the Jews, a history of the Jewish people. That was circa 94. And that also contains a very famous quote about Jesus. He was the first scholar who wasn't Christian, wasn't a follower of Jesus per se, to mention Jesus. It's why, of course, basically every scholar agrees, yeah, Jesus was a real guy.
Finally, we have Christian history after the books of Acts. It's not too much. We had all of the other books written at this time. There was the heavy persecution of Christians under Emperor Domitian. I don't really know how to pronounce that either. He kind of took up Nero's reputation and intensified it. This was during the years 81 to 96. Something cool is that John got around to finally writing his gospel, slow broke. He also wrote 1st, 2nd, and 3rd John and the book of Revelation from the years 85 to 95. We also have the writings of early church leaders like Barnabas, the Clement of Rome, Ignatius, and Polycarp. from the years 85 to 150.
These are the church fathers, and the reason they're important is because many of these people actually knew the apostles personally.
Yeah, so a lot of what we know about the apostles comes from them, and they got together to found the early church. So, you know, all of the orthodoxy stuff, all of the Catholic stuff, all of the Nicene Creed, stuff like that, that comes from these guys. Specifically notable is Clement I, the Bishop of Rome, from 88, and the rise of Gnostic heresies.
Whoa, that's
in the
kind of
church,
insane. They
90.
don't mention Athanasius. Or, like, he's probably the most famous one out of them all. You don't mention him. Okay, read that last one again.
That's true. We have the rise of Gnostic heresies within the church from the year 90. And that is the
Come
whole
on!
Bible timeline.
Let's go! So once again, of course, we never really have an outro for these kind of things.
But this Bible timeline, it's not quite an outline of the Bible in as much as it kind of proves the value of the Bible. There's a lot that the Bible has to offer, not just on a spiritual level of like having a relationship with God. Looking at it outside of that, there's still a lot to value about the Bible. There's still a lot that makes it the incredible work that it is. It evolved and in many ways shaped world history. As we humans progressed more and more, so did the Bible. Not that the Bible needed to change or progress. Instead, all of its prophecies and all of its meanings, they became more and more relevant. And as certain people came and went in the story of the Bible, God used those people to help magnify the glory of his word, and the power, the truth that the Bible contains can be found just by doing some basic research on world history. It's truly amazing. Even just the secular world proves the power of this Bible.
But, hey, that's enough sappy talk. You don't know
sappy.
what we're going to do next, and that's the great thing about this channel.
Yes, indeed.
We don't know either. All right. See ya.